If there's one thing Forza Horizon 6 absolutely nails, it's drifting. And honestly, what better place to throw your car sideways than Japan? From winding mountain roads to long sweeping corners, FH6 gives drift fans some of the best roads we've ever seen in the series. But here's the thing, finding the right drift car can make a huge difference. Sure, driver skill matters, and a good tune can completely transform a vehicle, but some cars simply make scoring huge drift points feel effortless. In this video, we're ranking the best drift cars in Forza Horizon 6 based on their performance, handling, and overall effectiveness in drift zones. Whether you prefer classic rear-wheel drive drift machines or powerful all-wheel drive setups, these are the cars that can help you dominate the roads and rack up massive scores. Let's get started. I'm quickly moving on to the video. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. At number 10, we have a bit of a tie. The Liberty Toyota Tacoma TRD and the Liberty Chevrolet Silverado 1500 drift truck are so close in performance that picking a clear winner is honestly pretty difficult. Both trucks are available from the auto show for 250,000 credits, and both can also show up through wheel spins or the auction house. If you're looking for a drift vehicle that is easy to control and fun to throw around, either one will do the job surprisingly well. What makes these Liberty trucks stand out is how little setup they need. Unlike many drift builds that require extensive tuning before they feel competitive, these trucks are already excellent straight from the factory configuration. You can jump in, hit the road, and start chaining drift scores without spending time adjusting settings. They are especially effective in the off-road drift zones scattered throughout Japan in Forza Horizon 6, where their stability and predictable handling really shine. They may not be the most extreme drift machines in the game, but if you want something reliable, approachable, and capable of putting up solid scores, both of these trucks deserve a spot on your list. The Lexus RCF is one of those cars that can easily fly under the radar when people talk about the best drift builds in Forza Horizon 6. At just 35,000 credits from the auto show, it is surprisingly affordable, but do not let the low price fool you. Once you start upgrading and tuning it properly, the RCF transforms into a seriously capable drift machine that can compete with some of the most popular choices in the game. What really impressed me about the Lexus RCF is how consistent and predictable it feels during long drift chains. With a strong community tune installed, the car becomes incredibly smooth to control and gives you the confidence to push harder through corners. In fact, its road behavior is very similar to some of the top-tier drift cars on this list, making it a fantastic option for players who value reliability over flashy performance. It may not have the legendary status of some classic drift icons, but after spending a few minutes behind the wheel, it is easy to see why so many players consider the Lexus RCF one of the hidden gems of the drift scene. The Mazda RX-7 Type R is one of those cars that barely needs an introduction. Whether you are a fan of Japanese car culture or just love drifting in racing games, chances are you already know why this car has earned such a legendary reputation. Available from the auto show for just 40,000 credits, the RX-7 combines a lightweight design with incredible balance, creating a driving experience that feels almost tailor-made for drifting through the winding roads of Japan in Forza Horizon 6. What makes the RX-7 so rewarding is how naturally it transitions from corner to corner once you get comfortable with its handling. It is not necessarily the easiest option for complete beginners, but players with some drifting experience will quickly see why this car has remained a fan favorite for decades. Add one of the excellent community tunes available and the RX-7 becomes a serious score-chasing machine. And while it earns its place on this list, it is also worth giving a shout out to other iconic drift legends like the Toyota Sprinter, Torino GT Apex, and the Nissan Fairlady Z, both of which are fantastic alternatives for anyone wanting even more classic Japanese drifting action. The 2014 BMW M4 Coupe is one of the most versatile drift cars you can pick up in Forza Horizon 6. Available from the auto show for just 55,000 credits, it offers an incredible balance of power, control, and customization potential. Whether you are looking for a car that can tackle technical mountain roads or rack up huge scores in dedicated drift zones, the M4 feels right at home. It is the kind of vehicle that rewards practice while still being approachable enough for players who are still refining their drifting skills. One of the biggest strengths of the BMW M4 Coupe is its flexibility when it comes to tuning. If you enjoy a traditional drifting experience, a rear-wheel drive setup lets you fully showcase your throttle control and car management skills. On the other hand, if you prefer a more forgiving approach with easier angle control and consistent scoring, an all-wheel drive build works incredibly well too. No matter which route you choose, the M4 remains smooth, predictable, and fun to drive, making it one of the most reliable drift platforms in the entire game. The Nissan Silvia K's S14 is one of those cars that instantly connects you to classic drifting culture the moment you get behind the wheel in Forza Horizon 6. Sitting at just 20,000 credits from the auto show, it is also one of the most accessible drift builds in the entire game. What makes it so special is how raw and responsive it feels, rewarding clean inputs and proper weight transfer rather than relying on brute force. If you are the type of driver who enjoys learning proper technique and building consistency, this car fits perfectly into that style. In practice, the Nissan Silvia K's S14 is all about balance and control, especially when you start dialing in your own preferred setup. Whether you tune it for a more stable rear-wheel drive layout or push it toward a more aggressive configuration, it stays predictable in a way that helps you improve over time. It also feels right at home on Tokyo-style roads where smooth transitions matter more than raw speed. That said, even with solid skill, it is important to remember that some of the more modern meta drift builds can still outscore it in certain drift zones, but the S14 more than makes up for that with pure driving satisfaction. The Formula Drift number 34 Toyota Supra MK4 is one of the strongest all-round drift machines you can grab in Forza Horizon 6, and it comes in at 150,000 credits from the auto show. Like most Formula Drift cars in the series, it already feels dialed in straight from the start, so you do not really need to spend time fixing or heavily reworking the setup. It has that perfect mix of power delivery and stability that lets you stay in long drift chains without constantly fighting the car, which is exactly what you want when you are chasing high scores in drift zones. What really makes the Formula Drift number 34 Toyota Supra MK4 stand out is how naturally it balances throttle control and steering angle without feeling unpredictable. It slides in a controlled way that makes it very beginner-friendly, but it still has enough depth for experienced players to push it harder when needed. Compared to other Formula Drift options like the Toyota Supra MK4 base builds, this one just feels more consistent overall, especially in long technical sections. It is not just about raw speed or angle, it is about how easy it is to stay in control while still maximizing your drift score. The Ford Mustang GT 2+2 Fastback Forza Edition is one of those cars that immediately changes the vibe the moment you unlock it in Forza Horizon 6. Since it is mainly obtained through wheel spins or auctions, it feels a bit more special compared to standard auto show picks, and that rarity adds to its appeal. Once you take it out on the road, especially in the mountain sections of Japan, it delivers that classic muscle car presence that makes every drift feel heavier, more dramatic, and honestly more satisfying when you hold a long slide. What makes the Ford Mustang GT 2+2 Fastback Forza Edition stand out is how surprisingly forgiving it is for a rear-wheel drive drift build. Despite being a powerful American muscle car, it does not punish small mistakes too harshly, which makes it a great option for players who want to push longer drift chains without constantly spinning out. You can run it completely stock without any additional tuning and still get solid performance in drift zones, especially on wide mountain roads and flowing downhill sections. It may be harder to obtain compared to other entries, but once you have it, it easily becomes one of the most enjoyable cars for pure drifting style and control. The Honda Beat is one of the most surprising drift options you can pick up in Forza Horizon 6, especially considering it only costs 15,000 credits from the auto show. At first glance, it does not look like a serious drift car at all, but once you try some of the community meta tunes, it quickly becomes clear why people talk about it so much. The setup usually pushes the car into extremely high power classes, often around S2 performance levels, which turns this tiny lightweight roadster into something completely wild on the track. What makes the Honda Beat so interesting is how much control it demands from the driver. You really cannot be careless with the throttle, because even the smallest input can send the car sliding farther than expected. The braking is also not very strong, which means you need to plan your entries carefully instead of relying on corrections mid-drift. At first, it feels unstable and even a bit chaotic, but once you adapt your timing and learn to favor the throttle properly, it becomes incredibly rewarding. It is not the easiest car on this list, but for players who enjoy a challenge and want something unique, it can turn into one of the most fun drift tools in the entire game. The Ford F-150X LT Larian Forza Edition is one of the most unexpected standout drift cars in Forza Horizon 6, especially considering it is a fully electric, pre-tuned setup that comes ready to perform straight from wheel spins or auctions. At first, it might not look like something built for drifting, but once you take it into a drift zone, it quickly proves how well it handles controlled slides. The combination of instant torque, all-wheel drive stability, and a factory drift-focused setup makes it surprisingly easy to keep long drift chains going without constantly correcting the car. What really sets the Ford F-150 XLT Larian Forza Edition apart is how forgiving and score-friendly it feels even without any extra tuning. The drivetrain setup, including its simplified clutch behavior, helps keep momentum consistent, which is a huge advantage when you are trying to maximize drift points. It was actually one of the first vehicles that made hitting 3-star scores in certain drift zones feel almost effortless. Just keep in mind that while it is amazing on asphalt drift routes, it is not the best choice if you try to push it into heavy off-road sections where its weight and setup start to work against it. The Honda Acti is probably the last thing most players expect to see on a best drift cars list in Forza Horizon 6, but that is exactly what makes it so interesting. At just 9,000 credits from the auto show, it is extremely cheap, yet when you apply a proper drift tune, it turns into a surprisingly capable scoring machine. Despite being a small K-van with all-wheel drive, it carries momentum in a way that feels incredibly stable, letting you stay in long drift chains without constantly fighting to keep the car under control. What makes the Honda Acti stand out is how forgiving it feels when you are pushing through tight drift zones. It does a great job of reducing spinouts, which is why some players find it easier to hit 3-star scores with it compared to more powerful traditional drift builds. That said, calling it the absolute best drift car overall might be a bit of an overstatement, since higher-end Formula Drift and well-tuned rear-wheel drive cars can still outperform it in raw scoring potential. But as a low-cost, high-control option that helps you learn consistency and clean lines, it absolutely earns its reputation as one of the most surprisingly effective drift tools in the game. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.